Live. Okay, we are on day 3 of increased profits for coaches, authors, speakers, and entrepreneurs. So day 3, if you have your worksheet, for those of you who have access to that, you'll get your worksheet out, pull up day 3. We'll switch cameras to over here. So on day 3, what we want to focus on today is we're going to focus on how do we get the necessary attention to drive leads to your business so you can attract the type of clients that you want. So a lot of things that we have to do in business has to deal with a lot of emotional pain. In your handout, the first sentence reads, increase your tolerance to fill in the blanks with emotional pain. Emotional pain. Why would I tell you to increase your tolerance to emotional pain? The reason being is the reason people quit, the difference between those who win, who keep going, and those who stop and quit. Often, those who quit cannot handle a lot of emotional pain. And basically, when you think about it, there's a certain type of people who can be entrepreneurs. There are other types who just can't be entrepreneurs. Those who have to be very safe, they can't handle any problems, they don't really take a lot of risks or maybe any risks at all, they like it safe all the time. We as entrepreneurs, we're a little bit opposite of that. And if we want to be even more successful, not only are we opposite of that, we have to master the ability to increase our tolerance to emotional pain. I've been forced to do that if you don't know my story, and I'll tell it to you quickly. When I was a teenager, I got married very early in life. My wife and I, we had a baby. Then later on, she tells me it wasn't mine. That's the beginning of my emotional pain. Then my grandfather and stepfather died of cancer. My uncle was killed in a plane crash. All this is true, by the way. I get a phone call from my mother to let me know my father had been shot point blank in his chest and drowned in his own blood. All of this by the time I was 21 years of age. And then I was born and raised in a cult. I left that in my 40s. The people in the cult, all your so-called friends and family, are programmed to shun you for the rest of your life. And that's what happened to me. That put me in debt, $350,000 nearly overnight. Literally slept in the office that I had about 2 miles from here on an air mattress every day. Went to the gym to shower, not necessarily to work out, but that was like my life. And that was a tremendous amount of emotional pain. And I don't believe in the term, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, because it's not true, because some people are becoming alcoholics and drug addicts, right? But what doesn't kill you will make you stronger only if you allow it. So I have chosen to allow it to build my tolerance to emotional pain. And that is also why I have a bracelet that we have on our store that reads, wherever I'm at, I'm not at my potential, because I want you to be conditioned to know that wherever you're at, no matter how difficult or challenging it is, guess what? We can handle a little bit more. All right, so if this is true, if it's important for us to increase our tolerance to emotional pain, what are some things that you can do to put yourself through some scenarios that help you increase your tolerance to emotional pain? You've heard of boot camp for the military, right? So somebody wants to join the military. They just don't say, okay, put on your uniform and, okay, show up for work. They put you through what? Boot camp. And boot camp ain't easy. It toughens you up. They put you in a room. Excuse me a second. They put you in a room where they purposely make you throw up. They make you puke. They wake you up with loud noises at 4 o'clock in the morning. They're doing that purposely to increase your tolerance to emotional pain. Some people call it, they're trying to break you. And then they build you back up. And I have figured out, okay, how can we do this in the real world in life without going to boot camp, but come up with something that can increase our tolerance to emotional pain? Because remember, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're able to have emotional pain in one area in life, you can overlap that into other areas in life. if you don't have the ability to handle emotional pain, you'll collapse in a lot of different areas in life, whether it be relationships and business, finances, working out, health. It could, it's just across the board. I remember a friend of mine mentioning to me about cold plunging. And I used to watch it on YouTube, and I used to think these people are absolutely nuts. So I opened up my mind a little bit more, and my friend swore by it. So I decided, let me study it a little bit more. And if you've ever heard of Wim Hof, he's pretty much the most famous guy in this cold plunging thing. So I decided to study it a little bit. Then I hired somebody that he trained. And after studying it, I'm 100% convinced of it. So a couple reasons why. Number one, I believe this is the most powerful way in the shortest amount of time to give you the most amount of emotional and physical pain that you can control. We'll talk about what I mean by that. So if you could find a way to concentrate emotional pain in a very short period of time and then get yourself in it so you can learn to master it, it can be a game changer for you. And the reason I tell you that this is painful emotionally and physically, but it's something that can be temporary. Here's why. There was a gentleman some time ago that was on this program, and he had shared a story through an accident that eventually got him to the point where he had to lose both of his legs. So I asked him a question. I said to him, Tony, do you ever feel pain in the legs that you don't have? And he immediately answered, yes. Now, how is that possible? How can you feel pain in the legs that you don't have? It's called phantom pain. So ultimately what that means is pain is an output of the brain, not an input of the body, which means then the pain that we feel is from the what? From the brain. So if we can learn to control some of that, imagine what you could accomplish. So the same amount of emotional frustration you have when something doesn't go right in your business, it's the same type of intensity. And if you can learn the strategies to control your thought process where you can control these things, then you'll be able to take that in other areas in your life. Very powerful. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right? Very, very powerful. So what I'm going to have you do today, one of the exercises is I'm going to encourage you to do some type of cold plunging. Now, I'm legally supposed to say you have to check your physician to make sure you can do this, but there's several ways you can do this. You don't have to do the full, I do the bathtub with, I need to buy the cold plunge machine. I haven't got to that yet, but with me in my bathtub, it's like 8 to 10 bags of ice, and I get 45 degrees, and studies show that no more than 3 minutes doesn't do any good for you. But medicinally, what it does for you physically, emotionally, and mentally, I am sold on this thing, absolutely sold on it, what it's done for me mentally and also physically and for my health. What you can do is you can get a sink or a bucket, and you can fill that bucket or sink up 3/4 of the way with ice and then another quarter with water, and then get it really cold and see if you can put your hand in there for 3 minutes. Now, you're not just going to put your hand in there without doing something in preparation. So what Wim Hof does, he does breathing exercises. And basically the breathing exercises are breathe in through your mouth, fill up your lungs, and slowly breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And you do that several times. Get yourself mentally prepared. Now, here's another thing that I do in teaching this. The nervous system cannot tell the difference between imagination and reality. And this is my trick or my secret sauce that I use to program people on stage when I do speaking engagements without hypnosis. In other words, what we do, as I shared with you earlier, your imagination is worse than reality. You make things worse with your imagination than we do in reality. We all have a tendency of doing that. So I train my nervous system. For example, if you go into cold water, the first thing that most people typically will do is they'll take a deep breath like that. So what I do is I break the pattern of the nervous system and my body doing that. So how do I do that? I go in the water with a full lungs. They're totally full of oxygen. So I go in with, so now when I get in, I don't have any spare oxygen where I can go because I'm already filled up. So I immediately break that pattern. Then because it's so cold, I slowly, now I want to quickly let it out, but I slowly let it out. And what I want to do is I want to treat the 45-degree water as if it's 85-degree water or 75-degree water. I go in there like it's no big deal. The pain for me usually lasts for about 30 to 45 seconds. After that, you feel nothing, gone. Again, what's the purpose of learning to do something like this? What it does, it brings you to a high emotional state and physical state of pain. The same crap that you're going to go through in your business, or that you've already gone through in your business, that you've experienced, that's now got you conditioned where you can handle more things than the average person. And if you can't handle emotional pain, what you're going to do is when you experience an emotion, whether it's positive or negative, you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to reward it or you're going to ignore it. And when you experience emotional pain, if you ignore it, you can push forward. If you reward it, you get out and you fight or flight. And what you've got to learn to program yourself to do is fight when you experience emotional pain. All right, so something for you to think about. Have fun with that. Talk about to see how you did for those of you who did it. All right, let's go back into your worksheet. And in your worksheet, whoops, let me change here. You're going to see the words package your message. It's so important to make sure you package your message. You'll see the first word there. Put in the word H, the letter, for the word hook. We have to create a hook now. What's a hook? A hook is designed to get somebody's attention. It's designed to maybe figure out the who, what, when, where, or why. And there's a number of ways to do this. What some people are doing, which is getting to be very popular. In fact, there's companies that sell videos, and the videos are just hooks. That's all they are. So what they'll do is they'll get a really crazy viral video. They'll take the first 10 seconds of it to get your attention, and they'll come in after that with their video. That's a hook. I did a video yesterday, and I used my birds as a hook. Tequila has never been in an airplane before. So I took Tequila and Winnie. Oh, what a disaster that was. I took Tequila and Winnie in the airplane yesterday to get fuel and fill up the airplane in preparation to help for search and rescue. It's going to either be tomorrow or Friday. So we've let the authorities and the police know, hey, we've got the helicopter and the airplane ready and all that good stuff. So I had Tequila and Winnie there. And, you know, I mean, people are going to respond anyway because of the hurricane. And we have over, I don't know, maybe 100 and something comments. That's a lot of comments. So you got to figure out what the hook is. What are you going to do to get their attention? Let me tell you, this is getting to be more and more challenging nowadays. Why? Because there are so many people on YouTube. There are so many people on social media. So you have to make sure you stick out. Two things to be successful at this. You must be consistent and disciplined. Also understand there's also several things that the algorithm is looking for. It's looking for watch time. How long are people staying on and watching what you have? If you have something that they stay on and watch, the algorithm picks that up and sends it out to more people, because if it's something that they see other people are watching, they want you glued to it, so the algorithm sends it out to more people. If it's a crappy video, the algorithm's not going to say, hey, this is a crappy video. Let's go ahead and send a lot of people out there. Look, this is dopamine addiction. That's what social media is. It's crazy, right? So your hook is very, very important. The next thing is the story. What's the story you're going to tell in your video or in your copy or your media is that you're getting attention from or trying to get attention from? What's the story? Now, too often, and again, when we talk about story, we have stories of speaking engagement. So your story is going to be longer. If you're doing an ad, you don't have, you know, a 45 engagement time slot as you do with an ad might be 15, 30, 60 seconds. So all this is dependent upon the length of time that your audience is going to be viewing your information. Be very careful that you don't spend a lot of time talking about you. That is the biggest mistake I see with people that do in the marketing. Understand to a degree, People don't give a crap about you. They're looking for one thing and one thing only. What is it? Type it in the chat, type it in the comment. They're looking for one thing. What is it? The solution or the outcome, period, end of story. That's it. And if you can trigger their pain and you have the solution, that's what they want to listen to. After that, you can tell them, my name is Gary Coxe. I'm a business and life strategist, and I've done 3 years on Dr. Phil's show, The Doctors, and blah, 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 and I have this book and that book and this book. But if I started off with this book and I have this book, do this, and they are not caring right now what they're looking for. Does this person have a message that is in line with my pain, and does he or she have a solution for it? That's what we have to focus on. All right? And then we have to focus on after, what is the offer? What are we offering them? And the CTA is call to action. And sometimes you have to change your offer up a little bit. Always have a CTA, and CTAs could be different things. It could be push a button, make a comment, DM this, DM that. If you want more of this, DM this. It could be a number of different things, all right? So the offer also, of course, is very important. And in that offer, it's very important that they see a before, or in their mind, they can compare a before or after. In other words, it must, and I repeat, it must be measurable. If it's not measurable, they can't see the result that it's going to give them. Measurable is not this. This will make you feel better. That's not measurable. Lose doing this, that's not measurable. You'll be happier. Measurable. It'll make you richer. That's not measurable. It'll make you $17,000 over the next 5 days. That's measurable. Lose 10 pounds in the next 10 days. That's measurable. So remember, they're looking for things that are measurable. How to get your look ready in 5 days, less effort, or whatever. These are measurable things. All right. So get your clients, get your clients to focus on the measurable outcome. They want to see it measurable. You'll see in your worksheet, a little design there of a timer of dynamite. So what you have to also learn with your customers is you have to destroy their old beliefs that are not conducive to buying. And what are some of those beliefs that are not conducive to buying? I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I've got to check my spouse. All these are different things that people use as an excuse or a reason not to buy. It's your job, and that's why it's so important, I think, to do longer programs like 5-day program. Is it for your customer? Because if you do this effectively, you will learn how to destroy their beliefs, and that makes it easier for them to buy from you. Then you don't have to do any gimmicky selling at the end. You don't have to hit them with, all these stupid hard slam closes or anything like that. But how do we do that? Now, I want you to understand there's a difference between dealing with their objections and dealing with their beliefs. I look at it this way. Think about a bed of flowers. All right? So you're in a garden. You've got a bed of flowers. Here's our bed of flowers. Well, these two don't work, so I'm going to put them up here. You don't work, and you don't work. So we're going to go to a red bed of flowers. I didn't do this yesterday, did I? Didn't ring a bell? Okay. I just did it a couple of days ago with somebody, and I'm just getting all confused. All right, so here's our bed of flowers. There's a nice little flower there, and here's a nice little flower here, little flowers here. But over here, oh my goodness, we got weeds. Yep, here's some more weeds. We got weeds over here. So here's what an objection is. When you deal with an objection, the objection can come back. But if you deal with the belief that creates the objection, you will eliminate the objection totally. Here's how I illustrate that. You've got weeds in the garden. If you pull the weeds in the garden, right, you just pull the weeds out. That's all you do. You pull them out. Is it reasonable to assume that the weeds will come back? 100%. So technically, if we want the weeds not to come back, what do we have to do? We have to go to the what? We have to get to the root of the problem. Once we get to the roots and destroy the roots, you'll have destroyed the weeds forever. So if you want to destroy people's objections and get rid of them forever, not temporarily, so they keep coming back and keep coming back, you have to go down to the root, and the root is the belief system that they have bought into all of their life that keeps them from buying. So that's the difference between poor people, middle class people, and rich people. They all have a different belief system. Poor class, middle class, they trade time for dollars. It's a consistent thing. For example, if they want an iPhone, right, that's $1,200. If I work at $50 an hour, that means I have to work 50, 60, I got to work 70 hours or whatever it is to get the iPhone. Where people that are wealthier, I can create a program or a process and sell X amount of processes or programs. Boom, there's 50,000. There's 200,000. So there's a massive difference between the belief system of people, and it's your job to master the ability to destroy that. So let me give you a couple examples on how you would do that. I was at a program, I don't know if you've ever heard of Russell Brunson, and I got a chance to meet Russell Brunson. He was one of the co-founders of ClickFunnels, right? I loved this story. And this story illustrates the destroying of the belief when somebody says to you, I don't have the money or I can't afford it. So at this time, I think Russell was in his early 20s, and he was telling the story where he had never been to a seminar before. This was a whole new thing to him, seeing seminars and all this stuff. And he was at the seminar, and there were about 7 speakers on stage, and each speaker had a program that they offered, and each program was like whatever it was, $10,000, $20,000 program. So about 3/4 of the way of this event, he's been noticing what looked like a young kid. He would buy every single program that was offered on stage, every single one of them. And it intrigued Russell so much that he had to go up to this kid and say, excuse me, I have noticed that you have bought every single program on here. May I ask how old you are? And the kid said he was 18 years old. So Russell said, how in the world at 18 years of age can you afford tens of thousands of dollars worth of programs? How is that even possible? So here's what the kid did. This kid was so smart. He destroyed his own limited beliefs of I don't have the money. But he got together. He found 7 entrepreneurs. One of them told them that he was going. He showed them who all the speakers were. He said to them, you put in $10,000. I'm going to go to other people, 6 other people, have another $10,000. I'm going to use your money to buy all these programs. I'm then going to go through all the programs, and then I'm going to teach you all the things I learned from the program, so you don't have to get it, and you don't have to go there, and you don't have to go through everything. I'm going to go ahead and do all that. Brilliant. And he said to Russell, I got another $20,000 to spend. All right? But what a brilliant way to not buy into the belief I don't have the money or I can't afford it. So the difference between wealthy people and middle class or poor people is wealthy people, we focus on one major thing. We focus on the return, not the cost. We focus on the value, not the cost. I was talking to somebody recently. I mentioned to him that a company wanted to hire me out for the day to go hang with their company, not to actually speak, but just to hang with them and maybe be, ask you to do some Q&A. He said, how much money would you want for that? And I told him what I told the guy. I told him I'd want $15,000. And he goes, that's a little steep. Compared to what? If I show you how to make $60,000 by investing $15 with me, would that be worth it? Why would it not? I'll give you a perfect example of this. I'm going to show you my American Express bill. Hold on a second. Where is it at? Here it is, right here. All right, so here's my, where'd he go? Here's my current American Express bill. I'm going to switch cameras. Switch cameras. See if you can read that. All right, look at that. $50,000. That's the current American Express bill. Now, some people might say, Gary, that's crazy. Do you know how much interest that is? I have no idea what the interest is. I know it's loan sharking. It's probably, 19 to 27%. But what am I actually focused on? I'm focusing on my points. No, I'm just kidding. Even though I eat off of that. No, what I'm focusing on the return. I'm not concerned about, yeah, okay, I know it's not 3% interest yet, okay? But like I shared with you yesterday in the illustration, if I gave you $100 and you give me $10, would that be worth it? So you got $10 bill and I say, you give me the $10, I give you $100. Would that be worth it? Yes. But for you to get the $10, let's say you didn't have the $10. You borrowed it from somebody and that person said, hey, give me that $10 back and another $10. So you're paying 100% of interest to get $80. That's worth it. So I'll pay 20% interest, 18% interest, 24% interest to get hundreds of percent on top. So I'm focusing on the value. So these are the stories and the things and the illustrations that you need to incorporate when you're doing some of your training, whether it be online or whatever your process is. And if you're going to destroy objections with destroying their beliefs, it takes a little bit of time. You have to have some time to tell the story. And if it's just a 5-minute meeting with somebody, that's not going to work. Okay, so very important to keep in mind. The next thing that you want to do, fill in the blank on your handout next, is where it reads create. You want to create, fill in the word with testimonials. You want to create testimonials that include limited beliefs and objections. There you go. Create testimonials that include limited beliefs and objections that are not conducive to purchasing. Ultimately, you can have other people, your customers, create testimonials from you that take the wind out of the sail from the person who has objections about buying your products. How would we do that? Let's say I'm a car dealer and my dealership is way out of nowhere, just like, blip-flip in Egypt. It's a long drive for most people. Then I would get a testimonial of a very satisfied customer that's something like this drive was so long. I fought it for so long. How stupid. Oh my gosh, I saved $3,000 is the best deal. Not to mention the people here were amazing. I will be back again. I'll be telling all my friends, it's worth it. You crazy not to take the drive to get the deals that you're going to get here. That's it. So I use that customer to help me deal with the objection that other people have. Boom. Don't make this complicated. So if you're not getting testimonials, make sure you get testimonials. And more importantly than that, make sure you get testimonials with intention. Be intentional about the testimonials that you get. It is a great way to dispel some of the beliefs that some of your customers are having. So once you figure out what most of your beliefs are from your customers that prevent them from buying, take advantage of that, use it in your presentation, and also apply it in your testimonials from your customers, right? Definitely something that you want to keep in mind. Another thing I want to share with you, the psychology of selling big ticket items. It's the same psychology that you need to implement for your life to make sure you keep going through life and make sure you keep going through consistently and have major wins and successes. So in your handout, you're going to see a rectangular box. Underneath it, you'll see a minus sign. Above it, you see a plus sign. I want you to write the word experience inside of this. Experience. Experience. Okay? If your attitude is right, let me tell you this, the facts don't matter. You create a viewpoint or perception based on your experience. So, which this means for every experience, there's always a negative and a positive. There's nothing in this world that can have only one side. There's no such thing as a one-sided piece of paper, no such thing as a one-sided coin. There's no such thing as a one-sided piece of bread. Once in a while when I go on vacation, I like a little jam with butter on toast. What side do I put it on? I put it on A side because I can put it on the B side. There's got to be two sides. If that's the case, what we're saying then, it is impossible for anything to exist with only one side. Next point in your handout. Fill in the blanks. You are the sum, put in the word sum, S-U-M. You are the sum total of everything you've ever experienced from the day that you were born to this very moment. Let me repeat that so you can fill in the blanks. You are the sum total of everything that you've ever experienced from the day that you were born to this moment. That means who you are today is made up of the sum total of all your experiences. The country and the culture you were born in, the people who raised you, the movies you went to, the books you read, the school you went to, the trauma you've been through, the positive experiences you've been through. All these things have made you up to who you are. So here we are. We're going to get a little face over here, and we're right here. All right. I'm going to do a little conjoined head over here. I'll show you why in just a moment. Okay. So what this means is if you have negative programming, and by the way, all the negative programming that you have, nothing can hurt you, and nothing hurts you more than your negative thoughts. And also, nothing can heal you more than thoughts. And this is where I shared earlier, you suffer more in your imagination than you do in reality. Let that sink in. That should give you an example of how powerful the mind is. It's like what Shakespeare once said, nothing, he repeats, nothing is good or bad, but what makes it so? But thinking makes it so. So you suffer more in your imagination than you do in reality. And the problem with that is when you're suffering in your imagination, the problem for most people, and I have to catch myself on this too, you suffer and you keep suffering and you keep forgetting that, oh my goodness, I'm making this story up. How many of you have made up a story before, especially in a relationship, and you make it, and before you know it, and you've got this whole movie, and you've got these scenes going on, and you're just creating the craziest crap ever. You'll do it with your customers too. Why they're not buying from you? Oh no, what happened? Your imagination will make you suffer more than reality. And I believe because of not understanding a lot of this, this is what keeps people from making quantum leaps. What's a quantum leap? A quantum leap is the ability to move. Type in the word move. Move. It's the ability to move when you're not ready. Type in the word not ready. It's the ability to move when you're not ready. The reason most people don't move when they're not ready is because of one thing. You know what it is? Here it is. Well, I'll write it up here. Excuses. You've got to figure out a way to eliminate your excuses, and the reason we have to is because it prevents us from having more success. The problem with people who make excuses is that they think they're not excuses. Oh, that's the worst, because now you can never make a change. So you have to be able to identify that. So let's take this a step further. I want you to write the sentence. This is a game-changing sentence. And it is in your handout. My future, fill in the word future, my future is my present. My future is my present. What does that mean? What that means is any emotion you experience in your present right now, that emotion always will stem from something you're looking at in the future in your imagination. And it also applies to something that you're thinking about in your past. So my future is my present. Also, my past is my present. So for today's sake, we're focusing more on the future of your success. So we're going to focus on this statement, not the past one. So if you have a present emotion that's exciting, at something about the future, the reason you have it is because in your imagination, you created something positive, and that created something in you in the present that's positive. On the other hand, if in the moment, in the present, you have a negative feeling or an emotion about something you're looking forward in the future, why are you feeling something negative? Because your future is your present. You are putting out in the future in your mind that this is not going to work. This is too hard. I don't know how to do this. I can't do this. But think about it, if you're already going to think anyway, you're going to think positive or negative. So you may as well focus on your very best to try to choose thinking the what? The positive. Easier said than done. If you were to take a video of your entire life, from the moment that you were born to this moment right now, and that video never got cut, the battery on the camera never shut down, we took your entire life's video and we gave it to the most amazing Hollywood producer, like the best Hollywood producer in the world. And we said to him, take this person's video, take 3 minutes out of their entire life, and out of those 3 minutes, I want you to make the most depressing video of all the depressing things that happened to them in their life. And that video is going to be so depressing, anybody who watched it would be so depressed they just want to give up right now, then and there. How many of you feel that you have that 3-minute video inside of you? Yes or yes? I know I do. No question about it. On the other hand, we take that exact entire video of your life. We give that same video to this incredible Hollywood producer and editor, and we say, make a 3-minute video from that person's entire life that when anybody watches that video will just make anybody look at that and think they're just unstoppable. They'll think they're so powerful. They can literally walk off a 12-story building. How many of you believe you have that video inside of you? And you know what? You do. Sometimes it's hard to realize that fine video you've got. So we've got to figure out, where do we choose? It's one or the other, one or the other. And let me tell you, it's a challenge for me at times because I have been through so much that I have to learn to continue to master this. If I'm going to be thinking, I may as well focus on this and this. Now, what is the difference between negative and positive? What is the difference between a negative thought and a positive thought? It is don't forget this, the outcome that you project. That's it. That's all it is, the outcome. So then, if you have a negative thought, what it does in the present, especially if you're thinking about something in the future, this is not going to work, I can't do this, it's going to create in you a negative emotion in the present. So ultimately, what that's going to do is create a what? It's going to create a feeling. That's it. How did you create that feeling? Here you go. Ooh, this is tough. You made it up. Yep. It's a lie. You fabricated it. You made up this feeling based on something you put in your mind in the future that would not work. And it created a negative feeling. Isn't that crazy? Talk about learning how to play games with your mind instead of your mind playing games with you. On the other hand, we take a positive outcome. We look in the future for a positive outcome. In our present, what's it going to do? It's going to create a happy present emotion, which creates a happy present what? Feeling. How did we create that happy present feeling? We what? We made it up. Ooh, we did. Yeah, we did. We made it up. It's a lie. So all the emotions that we're experiencing, there's always two sides to it. You're depressed about something, there's somebody out there doing the exact same thing that you're doing that making you depressed that they're happy about. I'll never forget this. One day there's a private island that I've been going to for probably 30 years in the Bahamas. It's the Berry Islands. And I remember the rain started coming in, it's getting ready to leave, and I'm in the back of a pickup truck, and it's raining, and I've got the luggage, and I'm putting in the airplane. I'm going to be wet in the airplane, all soaking. And I was about to get pissed. Then I stopped and I said to myself, Gary, do you know how many people on this planet right now would love to be on this pickup truck on this private island with rain pouring all over them? So for every experience, there's a positive side and a negative side. Always, always, always. So now the next thing that we're going to talk about are these feelings. What do these feelings create? Here's what these feelings create. These feelings now create a what? A belief. That's it. They create a belief. And bear with me here. A belief of what? Two things. A belief of faith. A belief of faith. Or doubt. A belief of faith or doubt. What's the difference? Here's the difference. When you have faith from your belief, what this does, write this down, faith gives you the natural, that's the key, the natural ability to take action. Boy, that's so good. Faith gives you the natural ability to take action. So what this means is, because you're projecting a more positive outcome, it creates a feeling inside of you that gives you the belief of faith, which gives you the natural ability to take action. Do you know how hard it is to move forward and just do the moves when you don't feel like doing it? Everybody knows what that's like. And when you don't have the faith, you need to be doing that anyway. Just like your mama made you go to school when you didn't want to go to school, she made you do it anyway. So now, if we do this in the wrong direction of negative, giving us a negative feeling, giving us a belief of doubt, what does doubt give us? Doubt gives us, or manifests itself in action, right? Fear, and you could add more and more. Stress, anxiety, and we could go on and on and on. So what's my point? My point here is every word out of your mouth for yourself and your customers, you're doing one of two things. You're projecting a positive outcome or a negative one. And if you in your life and for your customers, you can create a positive outcome, the game changes for you. So every word that you're saying is creating one of these two things, one or the other. You can either think, I don't know if I can do this. This is not going to work. Nothing's ever going to work for me. Or you can say, you know what? I'm going to make this work. I got this. I'm going to keep going forward. And here's the key. The key is you have to create the environment that people feel like buying. You need to create the environment. Imagine what it's like for you to be able to make $50,000 in one day or one event, or $100,000 in one day or one event. Get them to see that they can do this. That's why I showed you the $1 million formula. I want you to see that it's possible. Tomorrow, when I call the media, you're going to see that this is possible. And if I can help you see that this is possible, it makes sense for you to have the faith, because it'll give you the natural ability to take action toward your goals. And the problem for many people is what they're doing is they're focusing so much on their problems that their problems become greater than the possibility of succeeding. And that's what the challenge is. And you are going to master this when you get to the point that you can go from a negative part in your thought process of doubt and in real time change it to a positive outcome by changing your future, which will create a new change in your present. Boom. You've changed yourself, and you've changed those who want to buy from you. That's pretty powerful. Next point in your handout. Let's read this and fill in the blanks. The monumental difference between a negative thought based on doubt, fill in the word with the word doubt. The monumental difference between a negative thought based on doubt and a positive thought based on faith is the what? Fill in the blank with outcome. That's it, the outcome. So once you learn to master this, this is what you have. How about that? But there's a challenge along with this. I'm a very realistic person, very realistic person. With that being said, what I mean by that is, Gary is not going to be able to do this 100% of the time. I believe I probably am able to do this a lot more than the average person because I play this game very, very, very intensely. But there's going to be times you're just not going to be able to do it. What do you do then? And let me share with you what I have done for years. I've created a belief system that has counteracted the science, if you will, or the habit that you and I have that keeps us from trying to be positive sometimes. And what is that? See, whether you realize it or not, when you were born, you became a slave to your feelings, not a leader of them. And when you are a slave to your feelings, you're like a kite in the wind. Wherever you get blown, that's where you go. The wind blows you that way, you go that way. So what you have to learn to do is you have to learn to lead your feelings and not be a slave to them. How do you learn to lead your feelings and not to be a slave to them? See, you've been programmed to be a slave to your feelings. So if you're programmed to be a slave to your feelings, you better have a way other than alcohol and drugs to circumnavigate the fact that you are a slave to your feelings so you can control them. That is a game changer. So I needed to come up with a belief that will enable me to do that, because for every emotion you experience, whether it's positive or negative, you're typically going to do one of two things. You're either going to ignore them or you're going to reward them. So if we are programmed to reward them, we better stop that, because that keeps us in slavery mode to our feelings, especially if they're not in harmony with our goals. So what do? We create a belief that's in your handout. Fill in the blanks here. This is such a game changer. When, I won't write it down because you'll have it in front of you. When my feelings, put in the word feelings, when my feelings are not in harmony, fill in the word with harmony, are not in harmony with my goals, ignore my feelings. Let me repeat that. What a game changer. When my feelings are not in harmony with my goals, ignore my feelings. So what do I mean by that? Here's what I mean by that. What I mean by that is when you don't feel like moving forward because you're focusing on something negative and you're trying everything to create a different outcome in your mind and you just can't do it. So now you're focusing on the negative. It creates a negative what? It creates a negative feeling. What's the statement say about that feeling? Ignore the negative feeling. What feeling? The negative feeling when it's not in harmony with your goals. Well, how do you ignore it? Well, my question to you then would be, how do you reward it? So however you reward it, you make sure you do the opposite. So how would you reward the negative feeling? You don't make any more phone calls. You stop. You slow down. You jump to the drugs. You jump to this. You jump to that. You take the day off. You take the hours off. Whatever it is that you do. What I'm trying to encourage you to do is learn how to ignore them, because when you push through it enough, sooner or later, something positive is about to happen sooner or later. That's just law of averages. A broken clock is right at least 2 times a day. It's got to happen, right? So when you get to mastering this, what you're doing now is now you're a leader of your feelings and not a slave to them. Let's go to the next point in your handout. When you ignore, put in the word ignore. When you ignore your negative feelings, fill in the word negative feelings. When you ignore your negative feelings, you demonstrate faith. Put in the word faith. When you demonstrate faith, put in the word faith again, you get what we're all looking for. What do we get? We get results. That's it. All right? Good stuff, good stuff. So that is our wrap up for the day. Let me finish this over here. And one more final thing. There we go. Bear with me. All right, so as a quick reminder,